Do good people.
Good morning. Good
Good
morning,
morning, good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing?
everybody.
As in DC vernacular. What's
Everybody.
on, Tiffany Childs? How you feeling?
Morning, Tiff. Morning, Teresa.
Listen, guys, if y'all are on Instagram, I want y'all to do me a huge favor and go over and follow us if you're not already. I'm sorry. If you're on Instagram and you do not follow us, I want you to do that at Breakfast with the Brookses. At Breakfast with the Brookses. We're getting ready to go live on our Instagram. I think I just said YouTube.
Yeah.
On our Instagram channel. If you're on Instagram, I want you to go to Breakfast with the Brookses and I want you to follow us there, babe. I need you to do me a favor. Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure that we can see you on Instagram. So give me some sugar. Never mind. Anyway, you looking all crazy this morning. We get ready to go live really quickly on Instagram,
It's
guys.
not nice.
I know it's not nice.
It's not
I
nice.
know it's not.
He's not being nice, guy. Y'all gonna have to get him.
We're gonna have to get.
If he did some allergy
I
medicine.
appreciate it. Great morning, Instagram. Great morning. Great morning. What's up, YouTube?
Hey, Karen. Hey, Sidna. Hey, Dana.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Mm-hmm.
Tracy. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning.
It looks like we've got the MAPS singles community representing one time. Tracy Hart Haskins, good to see you. If you're chiming in by way of Instagram, do me a huge favor, guys. Share this out. I want you to press that arrow at the bottom of your screen. Share this out to as many people as we possibly can. Good morning, Kay. Good to see you on Instagram. We're going to go ahead and
Good morning. Good
show
morning.
our faces here. Good morning, guys. How's everybody doing? Y'all good?
Good morning.
Everybody good?
Lights are killing me.
I'm sorry, babe. Just readjust it a little bit. There you go. Tilt it up, son. Tilt it up.
Up is what's going in my face.
Okay. Do me a favor. Turn it that way. There we go. Is that better? Is that better?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Listen. I'm being nice, Teresa. I'm
No,
being
he's not.
nice.
No,
I'm
he's
being
not.
nice. I'm being.
No, he's not.
Mhm. When I'm drinking coffee, baby, you're supposed to engage the
I
community.
didn't see you were
Well, you
drinking
need
coffee. I
to.
was
We're
doing
a little off
Look,
because
we are not fussing
we are
this
not
morning.
fussing in
We're
front
not
of the children this
fussing
morning.
in front of the
We're a
children.
little off because we've been in the house with each other for a little too long, Miss Birthday Girl.
It's been 2 whole days.
2 whole days.
Yeah, you need to.
My extrovert is starting to get challenged. I'm just being honest with you. So anyway, guys, what's up, Deirdre?
He's got issues.
What Nikkei said? What? Glenn not being nice? Who'd have shuddered the thought? No, I have my moments like everybody else. Really quickly, guys, I want y'all to chime in. If you're a part of the MAPS Relationship Academy, I want you to put hashtag MAPS Rocks at the bottom of the screen in the comment. Put MAPS Rocks. For those of you guys who are just jumping in, my name is Glenn P. Brooks Jr. I'm feeling a little unnervy this morning. I woke up about 3 o'clock this morning. I could not go back to sleep. And I've been just kind of thinking all morning. So I'm a little wound up. And so I apologize. Sitting here next to me is the lovely light skin.
55-year-old Cherie Brooks Jr.
She had to stick that part in.
I just celebrated my 55th birthday. Wasn't the celebration I was hoping for, but I am grateful that I made it to 55 and that I get to live another day. And we'll get to party another day.
Absolutely. So, for those of you guys who are just jumping in, Cherie and I created an online relationship academy about 3 years ago now, a little bit more than 3 years ago now. And it's designed specifically, guys, to be able to help people grow in their relationships on purpose and with great intentionality. And I think, unfortunately, Cherie, people think that when they get in a relationship, things automatically move in the right direction.
Right. And relationships don't work that way, unfortunately. It takes a lot of work. Whenever you bring two individuals together with different personalities, were raised differently, you're going to have
Lord Jesus.
Two people with two different mindsets on a lot of issues. And so it takes work to be able to come to a place of agreement on a lot of things. You're not going to always agree to do things the same way or view things the same way, but you have to be willing to, number one, accept each other's viewpoint and accept your differences, and being able to manage that in the confines of a relationship. It's work.
Yeah.
It doesn't just happen overnight. And it's continual work. And that's one thing I think a lot of couples don't realize, that they think that, you do this work in the beginning and that's it. No, this is continual work. You keep working every year, every day.
Yeah.
Over and over again, because there are always different things that are going to keep coming up.
Absolutely.
As you grow and evolve as individuals. And so it's constant work. but it's worth it.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
definitely worth it.
So if you want to be a part of that community, what's up? Days Ninja. I don't know how to pronounce it. Put your government name in it because your icon, your thumbnail is a little too small for me to see your face. I think I know who that is, but I'm not going to put myself out there.
D Ninja.
No, it's not.
I'm just saying because I don't know the whole name.
I knew it was Tammy. Tammy was the first person
trying to confuse people
to call me coach. Like hey, 25 Tammy. Years ago, maybe. Close to it when we were working in youth ministry back in the not quite that far. About 20 years ago, when we were in youth ministry. She was the first person to dub me coach, and I'm excited about the fact that I actually grew up to walk in that. So I'm just excited. That was a side note. Some of y'all are like, he was just in the middle of something. My flamingo is a little on extra today, and I have to calm him down. So we were talking about the MAPS Relationship Academy. We were talking about if you want to grow a relationship intentionally, you certainly can do that. We think that happens best in community. And we want to encourage you to go to www.thecrcoach.com and sign up for a free discovery session, see if there is a fit, and we can help you.
Right. And in these trying times that we're in our nation, well, in the world right now, and you're getting to be in close confines with those you love, for those of you that are in relationships.
You get to be you get to be
in close confines with them. This is an opportunity, and I want you guys to view this as an opportunity to strengthen your relationships.
Yeah.
And it's going to be challenging for some of you because you've been constantly, the hustle and bustle of life. You haven't been in those close confines, especially, I shout out to the parents who are home with their kids that are having to have been thrust into homeschooling.
Y'all need some extra prayer. Lord Jesus,
sending prayers out to you. But please reach out. It's a whole bunch of resources online. People are posting tips and strategies to help you guys to deal with this. I posted something this morning in our MAPS Relationship Academy from one of our former members. They're not in the group any longer, but she's an educator, and she shared some tips to be able to help you guys to be able to how to not get overwhelmed.
You shared that in the Facebook group.
In the Facebook group, sorry. Yeah, in our Facebook group online. So reach out. Don't sit home and get frustrated trying to do this thing by yourself. Reach out to other people. Our MAPS Relationship Academy is a great place to get those resources. Our Facebook group online is a part of that. And there are a lot of other communities out there. We're not the only one.
Not at all.
But do not sit home and try to figure this thing out by yourself. This is going to be a very trying time the longer that we're in our houses. Confined together, and it's going to test your relationships in some areas. And so for those of you who want to kind of get ahead of the curve, we invite you to join the MAPS Relationship Academy. As Glenn said, please go to thecrcoach.com where you can schedule a free assessment, free discovery session where we can sit down with you and see if we're fit, if we can help you with some of the challenges that you see or that you foresee over the coming weeks or months. As you're going to be in this situation. And so my biggest thing is this community is important in this time. And even though you may not be able to physically be with your community, you need to have some type of community. We have, been blessed. We have an online community. We built this 3 years ago. And so we have a safe refuge for the people in our community. They have a place that they can come. We have a place that we can all come together. We're accustomed doing it virtually.
Yeah, and let me add to that. When she say virtually, this is not the community she's referring to. No. This is an extension of it. Right. Our YouTube channel, what we do here with Breakfast with the Brooks is what we do on Instagram. This is an extension of a closed community that we have. And when I say closed, I mean it's a private community where we get to show up weekly face to face. Last week, we had a combined group. We had well over 50 people in the same room at the same time on social media. And everybody wasn't there, but we had... social media. I'm sorry, on Zoom. It was not on social media. Thank you for correcting me. In our closed group. And the community was brilliant. I mean, the fact that, we had a situation where there was a medical emergency that we got to witness on the Zoom, and we were able to pick up the phone, give a call to the authorities on this person's behalf, and we worked some things out. She's doing just fine. but it all happened virtually.
Right.
And one of the things I heard the Surgeon General talk about, babe, a couple of days ago, and it just, by the way, our Surgeon General named Jerome. That's his name, Dr. Jerome Adams. I love it. I love it. I love it. Power to the people. Love Jerome. I don't mean to be disrespectful at all. He's an admiral,
Yes.
3-star general,
Yes.
doing a great job. And he said something that was super important. He said, social distancing does not have to mean social disconnecting.
Yes, yes.
And I think that unfortunately what we're doing, guys, is we're looking at the viewpoint of what we can't do or maybe where we can't go.
Right.
But we're not engaging our communities that we have. And I'm grateful for our MAPS Relationship Academy that allows us to engage them online, in person, face to face on a weekly basis. It's just amazing. Hey, Kim, good to see you. So proud of you. Kim, you messed me up when you said it's been 20 years since you've been teaching. I remember when you first said, I don't know if I could do this. One of our friends from years ago. Again, we're talking about community as Kim is coming on. And we really believe that if you are going to get to any place of significance, guys, you got to have help. You can't do that by yourself. There are a lot of people. We watched the documentary last night. By the way, if you haven't seen the Madam C.J. Walker documentary on Netflix, it is a game changer, particularly for my entrepreneurs.
Yes, it's a must-see.
But one of the things I realize is that the title of that is self-made. And I have one pushback. Mm-hmm. She wasn't self-made.
Right. She didn't do it by herself.
She did not do that by herself.
Right.
I need y'all to tap into that for a minute. Mm-hmm. She was not self-made. I understand the connotation. I understand what that meant, and there's no disrespect. However, she needed people.
Right.
And there were several, if you go watch the special, that at every level that she grew, there were key people that played significant roles that helped her punch through that level and get to the next one and thrive, becoming the first female, not black, not white, but first female millionaire in America. So I'm just super grateful that it showed and depicted, although the name doesn't say it, that you cannot get to any place of significance by yourself. Good to see you, Chris. Good to see everybody. So we're going to jump into this content. If you're single and you're on the line, put a 1 in the chat. If you are single and you on the line, put a 1 in the chat. I'm about to sing a song.
My allergies are acting up, so if I'm sniffling, it's my allergies. So
right. Ain't that a trip though? This coronavirus thing is coming right at the time where allergy season. So you got people side-eyeing folks. It's like, nah.
Right, I'm gonna snore, sneeze,
I've been struggling with that.
I'm like, no, it's a sneeze.
Right,
it was a sneeze. It
right. Folks like, do we have to get our hand sanitizer out and start? What we got to do? Come on, let's lather up. Let me shake your hand now. So look, guys, let's talk. You're single. You're on the chat. Put a 1. Karen says 1. Dana says 1.
We got some singles on Instagram too.
Kim says 1. We got 1s going all throughout the timeline. So here's some things that we're going to recap very briefly today. And I want to unpack some things that we talked about last week. We talked about sticking points. Put sticking points in the comments. Put sticking points in the chat. Put that in the chat. Sticking points. There are 5 sticking points that you have to navigate through if you're going to rebuild trust. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where somebody has done something to cross the line. In them crossing the line, what they've done is they breached your trust. You now are looking at them strange. You're now putting dots together. You're kind of trying to navigate, like, did they really mean that?
So did that mean that? So what did they mean by that?
Right.
You're questioning everything.
Right. And so because of that, what happens is that you truly have to understand that there is a method towards navigating getting back to where the trust is rebuilt. And if you do not take the time to walk through these steps, oftentimes it's just not going to happen. So if we can, let's run down really quickly the 5 things that we're talking about. So number 1 is what, Sheree?
Knowing the details.
Put that in the chat.
And knowing the details does not mean knowing all of the nitty-gritty details, but it's knowing the truth.
Knowing the details of the offense, of the situation.
Knowing the truth behind it. So not basing it on speculation, not basing it on assumptions, but knowing the actual details, knowing the facts about the situation, the how, why, when, the facts, not the all the external stuff, but knowing the actual facts about whatever the situation was.
So number two, we said is what, babe?
Releasing the anger.
Put that in the chat, guys. What's up, Dre?
And releasing the anger is you're being able to express that you're upset about it, that you were bothered. You're being able to express to that person that, hey, you did this and this, I'm bothered by this, that this was not right, that you violated my trust. It does not mean going to slashing tires. It does not mean breaking windows.
I bust the windows out your car.
That's not what we're talking about. It's being able to express how you really feel about it, and saying and speaking to what it is that you see.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes what will happen, especially with singles, we'll see something in the person that we're dating, or we'll pick up on some behavior, but we won't address it because we're like, I don't want to say nothing.
Yep.
You know, things going good. We supposed to be going away this weekend, so I don't want to say nothing. And speak to what you see.
Right.
What happens when you get in the pattern of not speaking to what you see? Number one, you're teaching them that it's okay for them to do things or behave in a manner that's not acceptable to you, but that you're not going to do that. Obviously, it is acceptable to you because you aren't addressing it.
Right.
And so you got to remember, we teach people how to treat us.
Say it again.
And so we teach people how to treat us. And if you don't address issues or address behavior that makes you feel uncomfortable or you feel is disrespectful or whatever, if you don't deal with those issues and you let it go on because you don't want to talk about it, because you don't want to rock the boat, then you're creating this monster basically in this relationship. So you have to be able to release that anger and share what it is that you're feeling, what it is that you see. Even if it's something you're not certain about, ask them.
Right.
Ask the question.
Right. So again, we said number one was knowing the details. Number two was releasing the anger. Kim said, I am good at this one. I am good at this one. Releasing the anger does not mean going off.
Right.
Releasing the anger means speaking truth to what you see and dealing with it in time and in the moment, and allowing your frustrations to be known before they become very problematic and now you're blowing up. Number three is showing commitment. If I'm going to move towards building trust with you, I have to show commitment. And when we're talking about showing commitment, what are we talking about, babe?
The person who committed the offense has to be the one to show that to take the steps to now try to correct whatever that situation is, to be able to regain that person's trust. For the person who the offense was made against, you have to be willing to move past it. If you're willing to move on with the relationship, you guys address it, you talk about it, but then you can't dangle this over that person's head.
Absolutely.
As a carrot. If you guys are committed to trying to move forward with the relationship, you guys deal with it, you talk about it, you let them do what they got to do to try to regain your trust. But you can't keep, well, remember when you did this?
Yep.
Well, remember that? No, you can't do that if you're trying to move forward in the relationship. You have to let it go to some degree. It's called forgiving.
Yep. We're going to talk about that today. And I need you guys to understand that commitment has to do with desire, and it looks like something. And so a lot of times people will say, well, I did it and you just need to get over it and let's move on. And it don't work like that. And so if you're going to rebuild trust in singles, y'all need to hear me really clearly, because in your context of relationships, it is very difficult for you to navigate sometimes what showing commitment looks like, because the easier thing for you to do is just to quit the whole thing. Right. And oftentimes the way that happens, long before it happens physically, mentally you've checked out, you've given up on the relationship. We were coaching somebody yesterday, and it just so happened that there was a very transparent moment where it was a couple, and she said, I don't know if I have it to fight anymore.
Right.
And that's the way you release anger.
Right.
What we discovered was that this person was exhausted. What we discovered is that their definition of fight hasn't worked in the past. And so therefore, them not wanting to fight for the relationship anymore look like, really, and they just didn't have the words to say at the time, I don't want to continue to do what I've been doing.
Right.
Because what I know to be true is what I've been doing isn't working.
Right.
So the truth of the matter is, I don't know if I have the fight to be able to go through what needs to be done to fix this relationship.
Right.
And there has to be a level of commitment shown that you're willing to wade through that. Hey, Carla, good to see you.
Right. Hey,
Jumped in
Carla.
from the ATL. Good to see you,
Also,
girl.
I just wanted to, and I think that's great. Dana said, "Tear up the scorecard." I think that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
When you're showing commitment, you have to be able to tear up that scorecard and not hold that over that person's head.
Yeah. No, I love it. I absolutely love it. Number four, there is a rebuilding trust that has to take place. So we said number one was knowing the details. For those that just jumped in, we're talking about the 5 sticking points in order to effectively move past a breach in trust. Number one is knowing the details. Number two is releasing the anger. Number three is showing commitment. And number four is actually rebuilding trust. And when we talk about rebuilding trust, there are several components under rebuilding trust that has to be put into play. And I want to deal with this just a little bit for my singles because it looks a little bit different than it does when you're married.
Right.
And the reason why is because singles have choices. Please put that in the chat. Singles has options. Single people have options.
You got options.
Put that in the chat. Options. I got options. If you're single, you have options. Put that in the chat.
What we mean by single is that you're not married. So that means you may be in a dating relationship.
You may be engaged. You still have options.
But you're not married yet. So you have not crossed over and made that covenant, made that commitment. So you still have options. So if there are things that are going on in the relationship, if there are trusts that have been broken, if there are things that you see that maybe you haven't spoken to or that you've spoken to and you don't see a change happening, if the relationship is unhealthy, you have options to make a decision.
Absolutely.
At that point in your relationship, because you have not breached that threshold.
You've not jumped the broom yet.
Right.
You've not crossed the threshold of the covenant that says I do.
Right. And the difference is once you get married, it's not, you don't have options, but you do still get to address these issues.
Right.
And so what we're talking about options is that basically the option to leave, basically. But I don't want you to think that, okay, so what does that mean that once I get married, I ain't got no say? No, you still address issues. You still will talk about these things. There's a different level of responsibility that you both owe each other. But when you're dating, you don't have that responsibility.
Right.
And we're going to talk about that.
And I want to get into this. Hey, Coach Rice, good to see you, man. I want to get into this because oftentimes when you say that, the fact that you have to go back and sort of set that up and clarify that speaks to this point. Most people, when they get in relationships with other people, the monogamy thing goes to the nth degree in the sense that you begin to remove your singleness out of the equation. And the problem or the challenge with that, guys, is that the options that you have don't reveal themselves. And so it cuts back your ability to navigate. So it's, for instance, I'll give you an example. If you're playing, for all my spades players, y'all will understand this analogy. There's one thing when somebody has a spade to cut a book. It's another thing when they are trump tight. Put that trump tight. What does that mean? My spades players, explain that. When somebody is trump tight, mean what are they holding in their hand? What are they holding in their hand that speaks to the fact that they ain't cutting just one book? What's happening when you say to somebody that's trump tight? Give me some feedback. Help me out. Nowhere in there was a punch.
I ain't messing with Marsha. I ain't messing with Marsha.
We ain't talking to Marsha this morning. Marsha, we missed you so much. We ain't seen you in a while. Trump tight. Thanks, Tammy. Trump tight means you have all spades.
Right.
And what that means is you have options.
Right.
So regardless as to what the person is playing, you got a choice to make, and you cutting everything. You running everything from the top to the bottom. Yeah. Don't nobody want to see you coming. Here's what happens in most single relationships. You put down all your trump cards.
You put all your spades away.
You somehow, I don't know why you do it. I think I understand some reasons why you do it, but it's not effective. You take your own cards and you decide, you trump tight, and you say, I'm just going to take these 5 spades, 6, 7 spades, and I'm going to put them over here.
And if I can
go ahead.
And I think what happens is that when we get into relationships, we have learned that being in a quote unquote committed relationship, a dating relationship, a boyfriend girlfriend relationship, whatever you want to call it, that it's just us. And so we turned that into basically a mini marriage. It's like we're practicing being married.
Yeah.
But we're not married.
Yeah.
So it's just me and you against the world, but there's no commitment there. There's no covenant. There's no covenant there.
There's a commitment, but there's no covenant.
Well, I dare say there's no commitment. Because the reason I say that, because there's no real commitment, because if there's real commitment, then you would have the covenant.
Oh, got it.
Because the reality is, when you're in a dating relationship, either one of you can say, I'm done at any time and just walk away.
I got it.
So there is no commitment. It's not even, you sign a contract when you buy a car. So you're committed to that loan. When you're dating somebody, there's no commitment.
You ain't even signed.
Ain't no contract.
Ooh.
There is no commitment.
So forget the covenant. You haven't even signed a contract.
Right. And so we operate as if we have a contract.
Dear Jesus.
When we're dating somebody.
And that's the kind of stuff that'll make you shoot somebody if they do something across that line. I'm sorry, baby.
When the truth of the matter is.
That was good.
I can recall there was one relationship I was in years way before you, way before I'm trying to think, I think it was after my first marriage had ended. I was dating this guy, and literally one day I'm just sitting there, we sitting across the table from each other, and I was like, I don't like him no more. You know what? You gotta go.
You said, what? You don't like him? What?
I don't like you no more. You gotta go.
You just said.
We just sitting across the table, and I just had this epiphany. Why am I in this relationship? Why am I doing this?
Wow.
I'm like, you know what? You gotta go.
Wow.
And he's like, huh? And I mean, it was completely out of left field.
Y'all wasn't arguing.
There was nothing going on, but it's like, I just had this epiphany. This is like, why are you doing this? Why are you playing that, you wifey?
Listen, please don't ever use that term around me.
Right, but you're playing house with this person.
Right.
And this is not going anywhere.
Right.
And it's like, I came to the realization, this is not going anywhere.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore.
Wow.
You gotta go.
Wow.
There was no commitment.
Wow.
So
there was nothing.
There was nothing.
Got it.
So I was like, you know what? You gotta go.
Sense. That makes sense.
And it wasn't, like I said, there was nothing going on. I just came to my senses, I say, that I'm playing house with this person, and this is obviously not going together. I mean, we had been together like 3 years. Mm-hmm. It's like, this ain't going nowhere. Mm-hmm. Why am I going to keep doing this?
So, guys, getting back on what we've been talking about, especially for those of you guys who have jumped in late, we're talking about the 5 sticking points that you have to navigate in order to rebuild trust in a relationship. And unfortunately, so for those of you guys who are wondering, like, why all the passion, right? Why, and I beg to differ. That's not a soapbox. You're passionate about something because you know the pain that comes with putting up with something for so long and how it robbed you literally of options that you should have had. Right. And so when we talk about singles having options, I need y'all to remind yourselves that I don't have to put up with anything that I don't agree to put up with. Mm-hmm. There has to be a thought process that you have that when you walk into a relationship, and the reason why, guys, is because you will train people, not just teach them, you will actually train people to take advantage of you, to mess over you, to just take you for granted, to breach trust on a consistent basis and not feel, quote, no type of way about how they're going to fight to rebuild their trust. They ain't going to say, I'm sorry. They're not going to apologize. They're not going to take ownership of their stuff. They're not doing any of those things. And the reason why is because you've trained them to do that.
Right.
Because you have taken all of your spades. If you were Trump tight, you decided to say, you know what, I'm just going to work with these few cards over here that really don't have any power, and I'm going to take the rest of these and set them to the side. So we're talking to you guys about these 5 things, and we said that number 1 was knowing the details. Releasing the anger is number 2. Showing commitment is number 3. And right now we're on number 4, particularly as it relates to single, rebuilding trust. Now, when it comes to rebuilding trust, there are 4 sub things that I need y'all to know, and we're going to deal with that. And then we're going to talk about some things from the offender standpoint and then from the person who's been offended. Mm-hmm. But I need you to understand that in order for you to begin to walk down the idea of forgiving someone, you have to first decide to forgive. Put that in the chat. If you're going to breach the trust, if you're going to work on how to navigate that, you're going to have to, first of all, decide to forgive.
Right. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier. You cannot dangle that carrot over their head. If you're dating somebody and they lie to you, we'll make it something simple. They lie about something. You have to decide, okay, I'm going to forgive them. I'm going to get them a pass on this. Now you talk about them. When I say give them a pass, I don't mean you don't address it.
Right.
You talk about the issue, and then you say, okay, well, I'm gonna get them some grace in that area. I'm gonna extend them grace. This thing happened.
Yep.
They lied about this. I'm gonna get them some grace. Now you cannot every time something you feel an unction in your shanana, you gonna bring this thing back up. You gotta now, if you are deciding that you want to try, we're gonna continue on with this relationship. And this is the thing, but with being single, the option is we're single.
Yeah.
We're dating.
Mm-hmm.
You lied to me.
Mm-hmm.
I can make a choice right then and there. I'm done.
Okay.
Or I can choose, okay, I'm gonna extend you some grace. I hear your reasoning why you did it. Don't really agree, but I'm willing to give you another chance.
Right.
If I decide I'm going to give you another chance, I'm giving you another chance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not now going to keep bringing up what you did the last time.
Got it.
Now, what I am doing as a single person, there is a record in the sense that you only get but so many times to now violate that.
Okay.
Because at this point, we're in a dating relationship, so I don't have to tolerate you. If you got a drug problem and we're dating, I don't have to stay with you and help you through that problem.
Ooh.
Because that's not my commitment. That's not my responsibility.
Ooh. Now
I'm your girlfriend. I ain't your wife.
You know you done mess some people up. Because we've got folks who are in relationships that are tolerating abuse.
But you don't have to if you're dating.
And you don't have
That's
to.
not your responsibility.
You ain't got to tolerate that when you're married, but you definitely don't have to tolerate that when you're not married, because the truth of the matter is, it is not your responsibility to navigate somebody to sobriety. Right. Now, that doesn't mean you don't care for them. Right. That doesn't mean you don't necessarily love them. Right. If you choose to do that. But it's a choice, and you have to remember, Absolutely. It's a choice. It's not an obligation. Hey, Kiana, what's up, girl?
And I think what happens in a dating relationship, we assume we treat things like we're obligated to do them rather than realizing that it's a choice that we're making.
Absolutely.
And you get to make that choice. If you choose that you want to be with this person and help them through this, fine. But remember, it's a choice. So when they choose, after they get sober, that they don't want to be with you anymore.
Ooh.
That was their choice.
Ooh. And now you mad.
But that was their choice.
Because you done warred with them. You done went through the mud,
but
through the
fire. But you both operated in your choices. You done went through
all of that, right?
You both operated your options.
Right.
And so you can't get mad because you both had choices. You chose to stay and deal with the situation with this person when you were not obligated to.
Absolutely.
And then they chose, once they got better.
Absolutely.
To operate in their options.
So, guys, I want y'all to understand, we're talking about rebuilding trust. For those of you guys who just jumped on for whatever reason, my name's Glenn P. Brooks Jr. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a coach. This is my lovely wife, Cherie Brooks Jr. We run an online relationship academy called MAPS, Marriages and Parenting Successfully. And we have, for the last 4 weeks, been talking about what it looks like to rebuild trust in a relationship. For the first 2 sessions, we dealt with marriages. These last 2 sessions, we're now dealing in the single space of relationship. And there are 5 things that you need to understand when it comes to navigating. There's called sticky points that you need to understand you got to navigate through in order to rebuild the trust. Number 1, we said, was knowing the details. Number 2, we said, was releasing the anger. Number 3, we said, was showing commitment. Number 4 is rebuilding trust. And that's what we've been talking about. In order to rebuild trust, you have to decide to forgive. I need y'all to understand that. Number 2, under that, you need to be open to self-growth and improvement. In other words, when I hear that, Cherie, one of the things that I realize is that most people will not invest in themselves to improve themselves. They'll invest in their job, they'll invest in their hobby, they'll invest in their business, but they won't invest in them. As coaches, relationship coaches, this is the personal development side of things that we help people navigate, because if you and I did not grow, we would not be here today.
Right. And
I tell people all the time that growth is attractive.
Right.
And the fact that I'm growing as a person from a personal development standpoint makes me attractive to you, even if we're dating, because now you're saying I can work with that.
Right. And I think that I know for myself personally, I went through a season after having 2 failed marriages that I had to look at myself and figure out what was going on with me. And I invested that time in myself, and not that I took blame, 100% blame for those relationships. In every relationship, I think both parties play a role.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever believe it's 100% one person's fault or another. But if you are constantly trying to grow yourself, become a better version of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
even in the confines of a dating relationship, you may meet a person. We're as human beings, we're evolving. We're living, breathing organisms. So you should be constantly evolving.
Mm-hmm.
If you meet somebody 5 years from now, they shouldn't be the same exact person they were 5 years ago.
Absolutely.
There should have been
What's up,
some
Russ?
growth. There should have been some personal growth in them, in their mindsets and just their goals, their different things. Growth is attractive, right, Keisha? And so you have to be willing to grow personally, and sometimes that means stepping back.
Mm-hmm.
And being honest with yourself. Am I in this relationship because of my insecurities? Am I in this relationship because I'm fearful of being alone?
Mm-hmm.
And working on those areas in yourself so that you can have a voice for yourself. So you can speak up about the things that you don't like, that you feel are disrespectful, or behavior that you feel like is unhealthy. But when we're not healthy, because we haven't worked on ourselves, we will tolerate a lot of things that are not healthy for us,
right?
Out of our own insecurities, out of our own illness,
Absolutely.
for lack of better terms. And so you have to be willing to work on yourself in the process of that relationship so that you can be the best version of yourself.
I love that. I'm going to go to the next one. It says we need to be aware of our innermost feelings, and you need to share your thoughts. Ladies, listen to me really carefully. Please lean into this. When you're in a situation where trust has been breached, particularly in a dating relationship with a man, and you have identified that this person either has an inability or a lack of desire.
Mm-hmm.
An inability, meaning they don't know how, or a lack of desire to share, listen to me carefully, their thoughts. You're in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I want to stay here for a quick second. You are in trouble. But I like him because, he's the silent type. He's silent and strong. Let me explain something to you. If you are in a relationship with a man who either A, doesn't know how to, or B, refuses to share his thoughts with you, you're in trouble. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to this idea of moving past trust issues and building trust and those kinds of things, when you are rebuilding trust, you have to be able to let people into your head. Mm-hmm. Again, we had a coaching session yesterday, and we were talking about one of the assignments that we gave this couple was to grab a notepad over the next couple of weeks until we get together again. What I needed them to do is to begin to record some specific things that we were telling them to do, because I needed them to be in a place of observation.
Right.
So that when we come back together as coaches and I ask you, so where are we at? How have things gone since then? You have a record, listen to me, of what was said because you actually shared your thoughts first on paper.
Right.
You understand? Guys, let me say this. Men aren't bad people because they don't talk. Mm-mm. We were taught not to.
Right.
It is not popular for a man to communicate his innermost thoughts. It's not popular for a man to share how he feels. As a matter of fact, the way most of us grew up, that's very feminine-like.
Mm-hmm. Shake it off.
If you grew up in a male-dominated culture of some sort, whether it was because you didn't have a father and the streets raised you, or you had a domineering mother where even though she was not a male, she dominated you, and you did not learn to communicate, then you won't. Mm-hmm. It's because you didn't learn the skill set of doing it. Communication, guys, by the way, we're going to be doing an entire month of training on communication in the month of April for our MAPS Relationship Academy, where we're going to teach and train you how to develop the skill set of communicating. Many people are not able to navigate the trust issues in their relationship, babe, because they flat out just cannot communicate, or they won't. So I just need you guys to understand that if you are going to be able to rebuild trust, I want you to be aware of your innermost feelings and be able to share your thoughts. And even if you have to get them out of your head, put them on paper so that you can later talk them out, then that might be the step you have to take. And then the other part of it is that put yourself in a room with somebody who's winning in that area.
Right, right. And I think one thing that's key with that is that oftentimes we'll, as and I can only speak to the ladies from a lady's perspective, is that we'll be attracted to the strong man, whether it's the bad boy or whatever. But that strength is what draws them. Their ability to lead per se in whatever their arena is. But oftentimes, what happens when a man does not talk, when he cannot talk about his feelings, when he can't express his thoughts, that also creates a problem when you go to him
Mm-hmm.
to share your thoughts and your concerns, or I don't want to use the word give direction, but when you share with them, when you challenge them
Right.
in any way, they're not able to receive that because they're not teachable.
Yep.
Because if they can't share how they feel, they just will be defensive. When you come, they'll see it as you coming at them.
Yeah.
And you're not coming at them. You're trying to help them, or you're trying to, help them talk something through, and they'll see it as offensive. And what happens is when you don't know what a person is actually thinking or how they really feel about something, number one, you're going to be operating in assumptions because you don't really, because you don't really know because they haven't told you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll be responding in a certain way based on maybe some actions or non-actions. You'll be responding based on that and on your own assumptions. So, just because he comes over every day doesn't mean the relationship is going anywhere.
Ooh, I need you to stop right there. One reason, for two reasons. Carla, do me a favor, DM me, and I will send you a link so that you can schedule a free discovery session, because she just said that she wanted to get up with us and connect with us again. And then that way we can kind of find out how we can help you. But two, Cherie, to your point, here's a challenge I think that most people are not aware of, and that is that when men don't communicate, you don't know what they think. And if you don't know what they think, you certainly don't know how they feel. And if you don't know how they feel, you cannot position yourself to make the best judgments on what you should do so that you can move out of assumptions completely. Here's how you move out of assumptions. You ask.
Right.
Now, the challenge is going to be, for many of you, you've done that.
Right.
But because of how you talk, because of your tone, because of your temperament in many cases, it is how you say what you say that dictates whether or not it's received or not.
Right.
Does that make sense? So I have to recognize that as if I use the DISC assessment, as a 99% D or I, which is a lion and a flamingo, I am super extroverted. I wake up like this. That's who I am. All day, every day, twice on Sunday. I don't even try. I'm just extroverted. God made me like this. But here's the problem. I have to be careful of how I communicate out of my extrovert to this introvert. Because Cherie, two highest animals, are both introverted. They're chameleons and turtles, the C and the S and the C. So what I need you guys to understand is that we had to develop a skill of being able to connect with one another based upon our temperaments, so that I did not come off too strong.
Right.
I did not come off as angry when I was just passionate. I was able to connect to her and get her to come out her shell and thus open up and talk. Because for years, Cherie wouldn't communicate. She just wouldn't talk. And when she did, it was 3 weeks later. You remember that time when, I'm still bothered by, I'm like, bro, wait a minute, what you talking about? This happened how long ago? 2 months ago.
All right.
I done forgot about it, because as most extroverts roll, we don't have deep memories. We don't have deep thoughts. I put it that way. We think often, but we don't think deep, typically speaking.
Your thoughts don't linger.
They do not linger. Yeah, they do not linger. And again, I'm talking about my super high D's and I's. I said that to say this, that this is where, when you are aware of people's thoughts, it builds the skills for you to be able to get them to come outside of themselves to have the conversation. Because here's what I've learned about you, baby. You have something to say.
Right.
You always have something to say because you're always thinking. Your temperament is such that you are constantly thinking and you stay in your head. But here's what's problematic for me. If it stays in your head.
Right.
Does that make sense? So if you're dating a person who stays in their head like that, you have to figure that out. And at the end of the day, you have to want it to work. And that's number 4 in rebuilding the trust.
And that means both of you have to want it to work, not just one
Absolutely.
person. And this is really key, especially for singles, because one person will be you. Ladies, let's be honest. You know, y'all have a couple of good dates, and you out buying wedding magazines.
Stop playing.
You know,
is that what's happening after
pitching,
first?
I mean, it's the little girl thing. I mean, we all have this image. We want to get married one day, and the whole all that, and that's fine. But when you are dating a person, y'all been dating for 3 months, he ain't said nothing about marriage. Nothing.
That's funny.
Or you've asked him and he's like, you like, hey, do you want to get married? You think you want to get married one day? Yeah, one day.
But one day is
number
not
one.
Today.
He ain't said he want to marry you. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just.
He hasn't asked you to marry him.
I'm drinking my coffee.
But we will, in our heads, we'll go all the way there. And so then when things start happening in a relationship, there's some challenges. We're going to push through these clear things that we're seeing clear red flags after red flag after red flag. Flag on the play. Flag on the play. But we're going to push past it because we done already told ourselves, no, I can. This is going to be my husband. I see we're going to work through this and we're going to be fine. But he's not showing by his actions at all that he wants that.
And then when you spiritual, they put God on it.
The Lord brought him to me.
And so what does that mean? That means that you are going to push past. So your definition of wanting it to work is based upon a false.
It's a fantasy.
It's a fantasy. Wow.
It's a fantasy. So, we will fantasize the relationship and not look at reality.
So, got you. No.
And so you have to be, and this I go back to, see what you see, speak to what you see. And if you see red flags, if you see flags on the play,
dear Lord Jesus,
see it for what it is and make a choice and move on. Don't linger in a situation when you clearly see that this person is not, their actions, their language, their behavior is not demonstrating that they are moving towards a commitment with you.
Right. And
getting a booty call every night is not a commitment.
Come on now.
Them spending every day with you is not a commitment.
A booty call every night, boo?
Every other night. I don't know how often people do booty calls. I've been out the game for a while.
She said every night. I don't know if anybody can afford that. You just say, I don't know if anybody got the energy.
Y'all know what I mean. But see what you see. Right. And don't fantasize the relationship.
Right.
And this goes for men too. You will have in your mind, this is this dime piece. This is the one. And she talking to you all mean. She being disrespectful.
Right. And you putting up with that crazy.
Dude, don't put up with.
I dated a girl one time.
Disrespecting you. Why are you in that relationship?
I dated a girl one time. This is after my first marriage. And after my own, in between my first and second. You'll remember. Yes. You'll remember this.
Yeah, I know, crazy.
And Sharia is feeling herself this morning. Y'all have to forgive her. So I never will forget. My sister said to me, are you seeing this? Now you have to understand, this young lady, beautiful person, just got problems. She told me she had problems on the front end.
I'm crazy.
We was at the comedy club in Laurel, and this was before Dave Chappelle was famous. Y'all know he from Maryland.
Yeah.
And he was famous, but not the Dave Chappelle we know.
Dave Chappelle.
So we checking him out at I can't think of that spot on Main Street in Laurel, Maryland.
Somebody put it up in the chat.
But anyway, somebody put it in the chat. Y'all, we was at this comedy club, and she was drinking. She was on her third or fourth shot. I'm sitting up here with some water, like. And she said to me, I will never forget it. And I'm partly caught up in this show because some dude from DC was heckling Dave Chappelle. That was a mistake. Just that was a moment in time I will never forget. He lit that dude up. But what's funny to me was,
laughs on us.
Oh, thank you, Kat. Thank you. Thank you. What was funny to me, y'all, is that she was sitting here saying to me, I'm not a very nice person. I said,
You so cute.
what are you talking about? I'm not talking. Dave Chappelle is laughing. We all having good time. And she's drinking. And she said, I just want to let you know, I'm not a very nice person. And I'm like, why is she telling me this? So after the night was over, I learned what that meant. And I ain't even got time to go into the exploits that she showed that night. When you was talking about showing your behind, as they would say when we was growing up, she showed her tail. It was bad. I said all of that to say that I was seeing. But
did you break up with her then?
No, I did not break up with her then. Thank you for keeping me on point of the story. So my sister says to me, this is at another occasion on another exploit, because this woman had anger issues. And she said to me, why are you putting up with that? I said, putting up with what? The way she is carrying on, the way she acts, the way she's acting out, the way she talks to you, the way she treats you. This is not the brother I know. You would never, why would you what are you putting up with that for?
Was cute.
And so because in my eye, I'm not seeing past the exterior. I'm seeing that, you know what? We're going to figure it out. Listen, it didn't work. And so when it came to rebuilding trust and we had issues, it wasn't possible because I would never see what was there. And that's why we said at the very beginning, please understand us singles. You have options. You do not have to put up with that. And the problem is that when you do, here's what you will find. You will get everything that you put up with. I'm going to move really quickly, and then we're going to be done this series we're going to move on to something completely different, probably talking about communication next week. Let me ask you a question, just as an aside. You've been challenged with communicating either because you don't know how to or you refuse to. Put me in the chat. Challenged with communicating effectively because either A, you don't know how to, if you want to admit that, and B, you choose not to. Put that in the chat. Put me in the chat. I want to talk a little bit about number 5. Number 5 is rebuilding the relationship. We talked about rebuilding the trust. We said, I'm not messing with Sydney. At this particular point, we need to rebuild the relationship. And when we say rebuild the relationship, guys, we're talking about a component that I need you guys to understand. Once couples have committed to rebuilding trust, they must work on treating the relationship like it's a completely new one. Number 2, both sides must ask for what they really need and not expect their partner to simply know what it is that they want.
Right.
And so as we finish out for today, tell us a little bit about, from your experience, babe, how important is that?
So particularly in a dating relationship, so if there's been a violation, flag on the play.
You say that word violation is too strong. We're not going to divert. We got 6 minutes.
Okay, so if you decide there's been trust broken and you both decide, okay, we're going to work through this.
Right.
We've talked about the issue. We've addressed what the issue is. From this point on, communication is essential because the only way that you rebuild trust is by open and honest communication. And so they have to now check in. They have to now let you know their thoughts. They have to now show you and not just tell you what it is that they're doing, so that you can regain that trust. Especially us as believers, forgiveness is the first step. You do have to forgive a person, but that's not all. So even though I may forgive you, you still, as the offender, there's work that has to be done.
Right.
It's not just, you hear people say, well, I said I was sorry, and that's it. That's not it.
Right.
There's work that comes after that. And so you have to be able to start fresh. From a clean slate. You both agree, okay, this was the issue. This is what happened. Let's start with a clean slate. So this is where you're not holding this over their head.
Right.
But now you're rebuilding, you're resetting the game plan. So now moving forward, how do we not be here again? You're going to communicate with me. You're going to tell me this. You're not going to lie. We're going to have these conversations on the front end so that it doesn't come back and hit us in the back.
I want y'all to put boundaries in the chat. Put boundaries on the chat. Here's the problem with most people who are attempting to rebuild trust. They forgive. People can move past stuff. That's not hard for many people. Some people it is, But many people understand and can certainly move into that idea of forgiving. Here's the challenge. What you don't do well is you do not erect healthy boundaries. And if you do erect them, you don't maintain them well.
Right. Or you wait until the fifth, sixth, seventh time, and then you want to
And
erect
that's the part where I would submit that it was never a healthy boundary, because
Right.
if a healthy boundary is erected, I promise you they don't have any more times to come back at you and do that same thing.
Right.
When we get into this series on communication, we're going to teach you guys how to erect healthy boundaries based upon your temperaments and how you think and how you process. The challenge in most relationships, whether they're single or dating or it don't even matter, even with your children, you do not know where the property line is.
Right.
You don't know, when I say the property lines, where does your responsibility end and where does it begin? And so oftentimes you'll take on the responsibility of furthering a relationship that is dead. It has been dead, but you won't let it die. You keep resuscitating it because the boundaries are not real, or they're not in place, or if they are, they're not healthy. In essence, your fences are broken.
Right.
And so I want you guys to understand that. We're going to talk about that a little bit in our communication segment within our MAPS Relationship Academy. By the way, if you guys want to be a part of the MAPS Relationship Academy, we want to help you out. Please sign up at www.thecrcoach.com for a free discovery session so that we can connect with you and see if we are a fit.
And once again, I want to thank you guys for joining us on YouTube this morning. If you are not a subscriber, please subscribe and ring the bell. Also, for those of you on Instagram, please go to the link in the bio so that you can also join our YouTube channel. And as Glenn mentioned at the beginning, at the top of the show, we did reach our 500th subscriber. We will be announcing that person next week, and we'll be sending them out a special gift for being our 500th subscriber.
If you have not subscribed, please do that, because we got another gift coming at 550. And so we're going to just keep giving. And as the subscriptions grow, the gifts are going to get more and more. I can't wait till we get to send people away on trips and stuff. That's going to be fun. I'm putting it out there. We're going to do that.
Put it in the atmosphere.
We're going to do that. But at any rate, at the end of the day, here's what we know to be true, guys. We all need some help. Y'all be good.
Y'all have a great Saturday.
Let's talk next week.
Bye,
See
guys.
ya. Dre said happy birthday again.
You didn't.